start with a little warm-up, similar to 2 weeks ago. Then we will give a little introduction to Miro and play around with it a little bit. Then we'll start with the first breakout, where we'll put you into separate groups, and then we'll reconvene and have a little sharing. This will be followed by a presentation from Sam Johnston from Failte Ireland to share his experience and the experience of his team in Ireland of how they responded to the impacts of COVID-19. And then another breakout session to explore some questions, followed by a short presentation by Guy to discuss some next steps, and hopefully we will close at 5:30. So in about 1 hour and 20 minutes. The objectives of the session will be: 1, how do we need to reimagine DMOs in this time? And 2, we want to learn how to use Miro. Okay, I'll hand over to Claudia.
Thank you very much, Noah. So again, today, as a small ritual of ours now, and very fitting to what we are, is like, it would be nice again to see today which destinations are here with us today. And we would ask you please to just grab a piece of paper, and ideally a recycled paper, and a thick pen, and write down your destination, please. That would be fantastic. And then to hold it up, and then to have it a while hold up, so to say. And I also have to get my piece of paper. Wow, a ver. Just put it very close to the camera that we can see it.
Okay. Dublin.
See the world. So we want to call out a little bit. So Geneva, Antwerp, Canada, Zurich, Ireland, Montreal, wow, Peru, Barcelona, Bordeaux, Zurich, and there Melbourne, wow, London, Cork, Iceland, Prague. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. It's great to have you all here, and just to feel, even via the virtual world, to be so together. That's really, really exciting. So thank you very much. And basically what we are just now going to do, we are jumping now directly into a small tutorial with Miro, and Noah will do the tutorial. So I don't know if all of you or some of you are familiar with Miro, which is one of the many whiteboard tools out there. But we like it very much, and we would love to introduce you to this one today. So Noah, over to you, please.
Thank you, Claudia. So first of all, to all of those that have no clue what Miro really is, in its essence, it's a virtual whiteboard and a collaboration tool. And throughout this session, we will aim to use it to brainstorm our ideas, think about certain questions, and then to collect thoughts from our breakout conversations. To begin, I want to show you a little bit how the navigation works. And this will depend on if you use a mouse or a trackpad. If you have a mouse, you click on the screen to drag around, and you zoom out by scrolling the mouse wheel. If you have a trackpad, which is a laptop, then in order to move around the board, you simply put 2 fingers onto the trackpad and you slide around. Very intuitive. And you zoom in and out like you would do on your phone by pinching in and pinching out. Now you can change the settings of the navigation by looking up here in this menu bar in the settings, where the navigation mode will show up. Right? If you have a mouse, you can click that. I'm using a trackpad, so I'll stick with this. And the other elements that are really important for navigating around a board, which, by the way, a board will be this entire collection of different frames. and a frame is simply one of these white blocks. You can access all of these frames in the bottom left of your screen. And when you click on it, you'll then see a list of all the different frames that I've created. So I can now jump back to the housekeeping rules if I've forgotten what they are. Or I can go back to the Miro basics board in case I have forgotten how to do a certain thing. This will be also particularly useful later on in the breakout sessions because each of the frames has a name with the group name, the group number, and also the breakout number. So if I am, say, in group 10, during breakout 1, I will want to find this, click on it, and then it will navigate me right to that board. And okay, in this case, I'll just jump back to the Miro basics to show you some more navigation. So I'll just click this away. And the other thing that is quite useful for navigating around the board is hovering over this number at the bottom right of your screen. And there are two things here that I want to show you. The first is fit to screen, which will fit all elements in this board to your screen. So can't really see anything now, but it's a very good overview. And the other thing here is you can pin a map, which essentially shows you a map of all the elements on this board, and also shows you where you are on the board if you're zoomed in. You can then click on this map and drag yourself around the board if you want to move. Yeah? So I'm not going to use this map, so I'll just unpin it again and show you the final thing, which is essentially the tool that we'll be using in this session in order to collect our thoughts and share our thoughts and essentially make notes of the conversations that we'll be having in our breakouts. And this will be the sticky notes. And the sticky notes you can access using this little icon here to the left of the screen in this toolbar. And there's many tools here, but don't get overly confused. Just stick to the sticky note. And you can also access it by clicking N on your keyboard, which I prefer doing because it's quicker. So I'm clicking N, and then this color board appears where you can select which color you want for your sticky note. I don't really mind. I'll just have the default color, and then I'll click somewhere on the board and the sticky note will appear. And then you can type within this, right? This is big. All right. And when you have a sticky note selected, this toolbar will appear above it, which allows you to customize it, stylize it a little bit. For example, I could change the color to something that appeals to me more, say this teal, or I can change the size to medium or large. Oof, okay, a bit large, right? So what I would like to invite you all to do and try out later on when we get to play with this a little bit is to make this a little bit smaller, even smaller than this S size of the sticky note. And you can do that by selecting any of these four corners and moving it in. And there you are. That's how you make it smaller. Okay. And when you then want to move a sticky note around the screen, you'll want to select the edge. Because if you're in the center, sometimes this text cursor appears and then I can't really move it. But if you're at the border, you can drag it around the screen. And as you can see, you'll probably want to keep the text pretty short. Otherwise, it'll get really small.
So thank you, Noah. And now we will go on to play and experimentation with all of us. So basically, Noah will be sharing the link on the chat box, and you please all click on that link and you will be directed directly on the virtual whiteboard. Thank you, Victoria. So you all now should be on the Miro, right? And so what we will be doing now, so as Noah explained, you will go, scroll a little bit, orientate yourself a little bit. And where we want to go now is the play area. You will find a very big white area, which is the play area. And I already see Guy there. And so what I would ask you in this little play area, to write down your name and your destination, and you can play, it's a playground as it says, and you can post it in wherever you want, and write in your name and your destination. And you can do it however you feel like the best is what Noah just showed you in the post-its, which you have on the left-hand side. And please feel free to open up and say if you need some help. But otherwise, it's very self-explaining, but probably at the beginning, for the first time, you have to orientate yourself a little bit. So Laura from Geneva, we see you. Alexis as well, and we have to make it bigger. Jere. Sarah from Montreal. Rachel Dublin. Camille from Toulouse, Hannah Prague, Jenny. So this is really great, everyone. So continue doing this. And then as a second task for the play is if you can just upload a photo of you, which you probably might have somewhere on your computer. It can be a vacation or a personal photo of you, whatever you have, and then to post it or upload it into close to your name. And so then maybe Noah, just a short indication how you can upload.
Yeah, I mean, you just essentially select a file and then you can drag and drop it onto the screen. If you are struggling with that, just because of the way that you navigate around your laptop, you can select the upload button, which is in the bottom of the toolbar on the left-hand side of the screen. It's a little square with an arrow pointing upwards. And by clicking that, you'll be able to navigate around your files and select a photo or something else. And this may get messy, by the way, because photos will be lots of different sizes. So we should try and make those small.
If possible. If not, we are allowed to do so. We are in a playground, so, but it's just a trial and error. And so how are you doing? Oh, yeah. Okay. Ricarda from Zurich just had a photo. Oh, or is that? So this is now where we are moving around with the photos, of course. Julie Bordeaux. That's exactly what, hi there. That's exactly what Noah was just saying, that normally when you, or depending on which size the photo is, it gets big, but then you can do it smaller. So very good. Okay. So we give it like one more minute to play around with this a little bit. You're happy to add anything else, or if you like to say how you feel, you are also happy to say something or express it here on that playground. It's very beautiful to see all of you, or many of you, in different environments, sporting, education, babies. That's very nice. Okay, so then, like this, you had now the opportunity to play and touch a little bit Miro, because now actually what we want to do is we really want to go onto our first task with Miro, and at least you had the opportunity to touch and see a little bit, and the other thing will come with the training and learning by doing. That's where we have to go. So Noah, I would like now to give over to you so that you can take us through the first Miro task that we are going to do. in breakout rooms. Mhm.
Thank you. So what you will now happen is that Guy is currently assigning us into a number of different groups. You will then be sent out into those different groups, and you will have a group number. And as I explained earlier with the when I showed you this little frame window in Miro, you will then also have, of course, this is breakout 1, right? So you'll then have the task of, first of all, finding the right frame to go to. So that's step 1. And you will then have 2 questions on the board that we will have navigated to. 1 being, what do you think your stakeholders will want from DMOs? And 2, how do you see the role of the DMOs changing in the future? So these, as I said, will be shown on the board, so don't worry about remembering it now. You will have a total of 12 minutes to discuss this question amongst yourselves. There'll be groups of around 4-5 people. And then please add your thoughts using sticky notes into each of the frames underneath the questions. And then we'll, after those 12 minutes, call you all back in order to have little share outs. So maybe think in your groups if there's someone that you would like to represent for the group. If not, maybe someone will just bubble up with lots of ideas that they want to share. All right, Guy, could you please send us out into our breakouts?
So hi everyone, you're all back, great. So what we would love to hear, so I guess hopefully it worked good for most of you. Probably there have been some challenges here around, but then we're happy to take that later on if you need some help or some extra, just to write us a note. So for now, it would be really interesting to have some share outs from some of you from what you have discussed or noted down in your groups. So that would be really lovely if we can have 2 or 3 groups speaking out very shortly, 2 minutes each, around what your impression, insights, discussions were. So who would like to give it a try and start? And my friends and colleagues will look out for hands rising because it's difficult to see sometimes with so many faces. Yeah.
Okay, I see Alexis.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll have to unmute yourself, yeah.
Okay, hi. Hi everyone, I'm Alexis from Vancouver again. I wasn't sure if I had to raise a hand electronically or physically, so I'm I'm better at one than the other. Yeah, so I took the notes for our group just because some of our group was having trouble with using the board, so I'm not sure if that's a consensus overall. But the thing that came up first for us, I think, was, obvious, but sales and leads. So what are the stakeholders going to want from the DMO is obviously sales and leads. Everybody's struggling. Everybody's a lot of small businesses. But just one thing that I thought that we thought was really important that came out of it in both questions, the role of the DMO as well, is virtual leadership. And so when we were saying that, we were kind of thinking a couple things. Number one, the sales channels are changing. Having face-to-face meetings, marketplaces, sales missions, things like that aren't going to happen for a while. And so how can the DMO take the leadership position in digital sales channels, whether that's digital FAMs, virtual tours, not face-to-face, but digital face-to-face meetings, and especially helping the small businesses, small and medium businesses get there. And the second one is, the group said there's so many good webinars like this out and so much good information, but there's so many. And so really being the leader in navigating that noise and helping the industry to know which ones to attend and which ones will be more useful and important. And they said, like this one. So that's for you, Guy and Noah, that's great. Those are 2 things I thought were really important, that we thought were really important that came out of our session.
Thank you very much, Alexis. Great. Very insightful. Thank you. Anyone else, please? Would be lovely. More. Because it's really important that we share our thoughts on this. It's really helpful for everyone. Noah, go ahead.
I was just showing everyone what.
Oh, okay. So maybe I would like to call James to contribute to maybe what our group said, because it was very nice, and then also what you also said at the end. That would be very nice.
Well, we spent most of the time trying to explain to an old man how to operate Miro, and he failed. So I shall be now known as Spasticus. But we had a great couple of points. We touched on health and safety and the importance of reassuring groups and organisers of events that our places are going to be safe in the future to travel to, because confidence is going to be extremely brittle for the moment. So there's going to need to be quite a lot of reassurance and connection between the DMO and the health authorities, so that we can provide that confidence to the communities that we hope to attract back.
And then the other thing, what you said with the example of London?
Yeah, I think there's probably going to be a degree of convergence. It was quite interesting because I asked you what you meant by a DMO in our group, and a destination marketing organisation can be responsible for attracting talent or investment or knowledge. So is there going to be more of a convergence of DMOs, of which the Convention Bureau will be one, but there'll be tourism departments, there'll be those that are responsible for attracting visitor economies, but also those knowledge-based groups that then within them have that connection to the corporate investors, to the entrepreneurs, the startups, the students, the PhDs, the doctors, that maybe is part of a broader strategy to transform the social and economic landscape of that destination. So I can see a lot more of the London and Partners model, or the Destination Canada model, where there is a lot more convergence between DMOs from different disciplines, where they're all operating on the same hymn sheet, or the same 2030, 2050 vision.
Okay, wonderful, great, thank you.
Still can't operate Miro though, so my apologies.
Thank you. So thank you. Anyone else? We can take one more. Sam, great, thank you.
Listen, just a very quick point, and it's on the back of what James said. You know, one of the things that we said in our group is, I think there's never been a more of a focused time on the transition from DMO to either DMMO, DDMO, or DDMMO. You know, we're adding the extra D and the M in for a few years now, and I think that's playing out very strongly in what a DMO needs to deliver now and over the next few years, and it echoes exactly what James said there. So,
Great, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. I just ask, just for the security, everyone good, or is there anyone else who would like to say something? Because otherwise we will move forward. Okay. Thank you, thank you. So great. So before we now will have Sam with us, I would like to ask everybody to stand up and not to get too comfy on your chair. So if you can stand up for physical reasons, please do. And if not, you are of course invited to keep sitting, but I would ask you to stand up. It's almost 6 o'clock in the day, European time, of course. The Americas just got up, which is great, but we not. So we wanna loosen up a little bit. And so first of all, what we wanna do is we want to do a little bit our shoulder circling our shoulders, right? To the front, first to the front, and just wait for guidance. We do this for a few rounds. That's good, feels good. And then we do the same backwards. And feel everything out there from the whole day sitting or from the standing up from your bed. So all here. Great, thank you very much. And then what we will do now is we will use our shoulders and we will squeeze them up, tension them, squeeze them up, and tension, tension, tension everything with your hands. Squeeze them up and hold your breath. And then we'll sigh out with a big, let it out. Great, great. And as you are all on mute, we don't hear you. So you are happy to it out, please, because that's good. Okay, let's do 2 more. And have a smile on your face, please. And out. And we do 1 more. Squeeze your shoulders up and have a smile on your face. And let it out. Great, great, great. So, and now we want to shake off. We're like, let's imagine we are a tree and we want to loosen up a little bit our body. We just move around a little bit. Okay. Do you feel it in your bones? Do you feel it in your body? That's good. Very good. So, shaking off. Great, great, great. So thank you very much, everyone, for participating. And now I give over to Noah, who is introducing Sam. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. I mean, you've done most of the introduction already. So now we're going to hear from Sam Johnston, the manager of Failte Ireland, and his experience, his team's experience, Ireland's experience, Failte Ireland's experience of dealing with the impacts of COVID-19. So over to you, Sam, and feel free to share your screen so we can see your presentation.
Perfect. Everybody seeing that? Excellent. Let's see. Perfect. Thanks, Noah. And this is, I suppose, on the back of a conversation with Rebecca last week with regards to what Failte Ireland are doing. As you can see in the top slide there, or the top corner of the slide, Failte Ireland is the National Tourism Development Authority for the Republic of Ireland. So that's the key role that we play. And Dublin Convention Bureau is a team within that. So that's my day role. Just putting some context on our reaction to the current crisis. As of the start of last week, from March, we had lost in business events about 130 million euro worth of business. Last week, we had lost 13 additional events worth 5.4 million. And this is across the country. And since then, I lost an event yesterday for next year. So what we have seen to date is a washing down of events probably in the first half of the year, maybe even up until August. September to November, we're starting to see 1 or 2 confirm that they're not going to come. But yesterday we actually lost a piece of business for March next year on the back of COVID, and that was worth about 5 million to the economy. So we got the note here in Ireland to leave the offices and go home on the 12th of March. And Failte Ireland, whilst we had been monitoring the situation, I suppose very quickly kicked into a response to the COVID scenario. And the first phase that we went to, just skip on those, the first phase that we went into, and it was it's a 3-phase response, was the shutdown. And what did we as an organization do? Well, it was direct engagement. We lifted the phone and we spoke to almost 2,000 business operators across the business tourism space and the leisure space. So we key account managed every single one of them. Phase one was very much about how much business was being lost, what was being cancelled, what was being moved to later on in the year, whenever we were naive enough to think that this was going to only last a couple of months. And the feedback we got from the owners, the business owners and operatives at that stage, was that they needed business supports. So we put in place a series of support documents and webinars based around their need. And the needs were, as you can see there, business liquidity, human resource risk with regards how they pay, how they lay staff off, redundancies, how they manage temporary closures, how they can safeguard future revenues, and how they can continue business relationship management. So we put these together. We developed our own FailteIreland.ie website, and there is now a COVID-19 response hub on there. So all of these supports were put up. So many of them in webinars, many of them were also in documents as well. We moved from that shutdown phase to a survival and prepare phase, and that's the phase we're in at the moment. And a lot of it, again, was direct engagement with our national government, with the revenue department there, because there was a lot of financial supports, as there has been right across Europe and the world, rolled out for businesses, but they're not easy to get your head around. They're not easily understood. So we had direct engagement, and we responded with FAQ frequently asked question documents, to help our industry negotiate how they can draw this money down. So the survival and prepare phase, as I say, we've just entered there about 2 weeks ago, is based on 5 pillars. And those 5 pillars are helping the industry with regards looking at financial recovery, their operations management as they begin to try and scale up again as we to come out of this, how they prepare their sales and marketing and when they kick that off, recovering their revenue sources, and upskilling the industry. So upskilling those who are still working, and that's upskilling them with regards business skills, but also tourism information skills as well. And then the online supports that we added to that hub at that time was about jump-starting sales. There was further operational guidance, say the government supports to help them access those. Protecting and working to develop their brand and reputation with existing customers and potential new customers as well. And then the last one there is one that I just thought incredibly significant. Within Failte Ireland, we're lucky that we have a number of supports to us as individuals. And a couple of them, one is an employee assistance program, and that's, I suppose it's essentially it's a phone line where if we have any personal worries, concerns, problems, we can lift the phone and speak to a stranger who will help us. And it's financial support, it's medical support, it's mental well-being support. And we roll that program out to every single one of our industry. So anybody who worked in the tourism sector, whether they were still employed or they had been laid off, were given access to that program. We also, at the end of last year, rolled out a program through an agency called I Am Here, and that's purely focused on mental health and well-being. And that was also rolled out to every single employee across the tourism industry in the Republic of Ireland. So I'd say a lot of our supports up until then had been very much focused on the organisation, the business, and then we brought it back down to the individual employee, and that was something I thought was incredibly significant whenever we rolled that out. Phase 3, whenever we get there, and we have no timeline set on these, is about creating demand and helping our industry to convert that demand. So we all know what that looked like in the past. We're working furiously to try and understand what it will look like whenever it does come down the track again, when those opportunities are there. But it's us as an agency working with locals initially, obviously, because that's where the first demand will be, but also trying to generate pipelines, especially in the convention bureau side of things, creating those pipelines to present opportunities for our industry to convert for future years whenever we are all through this and we're back to whatever the new normal is. And just a few examples at the end of how our industry has repivoted and what we've done as well with regards supporting direct supports to the industry. So we as a membership organization have said that we are not charging membership fees this year, and we will review that again in January of 2021 to see whether or not it's the right time to charge, to ask for fees. And this is all about cash flow. You know, cash flow is one of the key challenges for our industry now. Those who even had cash reserves are burning through them excessively at the minute. So this was giving an assurance that we're not going to come chasing you for membership fees. A lot of our industry had already paid to go to the 2 IMEXs, to IBTM and other international platforms, B2B platforms from a business and leisure point of view. So anybody who'd paid, we get fully refunded. Even if those trade shows were to run later in the year, we will not be charging our industry to go to them. We understand the cash flow is challenging, and when we get out of this, cash flow will still be a challenge. So we're going to make sure that we have a strong Irish presence at any of those shows, but as well as that, because they will have burned through any cash reserves that they have, we're going to open up a get-to-market funding. So we're going to subvent our industry with flights and accommodation to get them out to market, to create that demand and start converting again. The financial supports, we've put other financial supports in place. We offer financial supports to business events coming in, whether it's association conferences, corporate meetings. And a lot of local DMCs and PCOs had already been working on events for this year. And whilst they weren't being delivered, we recognized that there were man hours already put in. So I suppose we re-diverted, if that's the right term, some of those financial supports to actually from running the events to help cash flow into the operatives at the moment. And again, just give them that extra bit of security. And we have also worked with our regional convention bureau to try and support them. We would significantly fund them as Failte Ireland on an annual basis. And one of the first things we did was assure our regional convention bureau that funding was remaining in place, and that we weren't withdrawing any of it for the remainder of the year. And of course, a lot of our industry have repurposed. Our hotels are currently closed for tourism business, but a number are open for frontline staff. I heard a story of one of the hotels in Dublin City Centre. It's not full of, but it would have a number of expectant fathers because it's close to one of the maternity hospitals. And obviously fathers are not allowed or aren't given as much time in the delivery wards at the moment because of the current scenario. So a lot of the hotels are trying to take care of expectant fathers. A couple of our conference centres have repurposed, one to a health service executive facility for those recovering from COVID-19. Our convention centre Dublin is about to be used at some stage within the next number of weeks as our government buildings. We had a national election at the start of this year in February, and we still have not formed a government. It's our old government that is running things at the moment. Negotiations for a coalition are ongoing, but to get that coalition up and going, we need our politicians to meet, and current government buildings are not big enough. So where the National Conference Centre is being repurposed for that. A lot of our event agencies are offering themselves and have created digital solutions to team building and team learning activities. Our chauffeur companies are ferrying health service staff around, and obviously a lot of restaurants and bars are doing home delivery or takeaway as opposed to their sit-in options. Some bars are actually pouring pints of Guinness and delivering them to houses if you order online, so you don't miss out on your black stuff. So that's really it. That's, I suppose, the headline of how we've addressed things and the resilience that we've shown in Ireland. Back over to Noah, probably now.
Thank you very much, Sam, for this insight. And yeah, just let it sink in, because I would assume that goes for many destinations similar like that. And just to acknowledge the situation Yeah, so with this, we will now go into the second round, and I will again give over to Noah, who will lead us into the second breakout session and explain what we will be doing there, and Guy will then guide us into the breakout rooms. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, so the format of these breakout rooms will be the exact same. It will be the two questions this time. What approaches from other destinations have you seen? So sort of inspired by what Sam just shared, you know, all the different initiatives that they're rolling out to help their stakeholders. Is there anything else that you've seen in your destination take place? Something that you inspired you potentially on the other side of the globe? And then reflecting on your own actions in light of the recent developments, especially in the past 2 weeks, right? Because things are constantly changing. What additional plans are you looking at implementing right now? So this discussion will again be around 12 minutes. And Guy, could you please send us all out into our breakout groups now?
Okay, with pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. So we are all back here in the keynote session. And also, again, we would like to ask different representatives of one or the other group to come again and share with us in the group what your discussion points or things were, some things that you discussed in the group, which would be nice for others to hear as well. So, and I'm seeing here that in the group of Karen Brosnan, you had some interesting stuff to share. So I would love to hear you to share with the group. Would be wonderful.
So we were just talking about how industry can kind of catch up with one another on a virtual basis and how difficult it's been for people to connect. And I was just making reference to some of the stuff that I've seen happen from an Ireland perspective. A couple of our destination management companies have organized things like, you know, catch-ups or fireside chats. But more than it just being themselves, they've actually invited some of the key immersive experiences that they deal with to join. So it's done via Zoom or Teams or something like that. And basically, you would have your destination management company facilitating, and then the whole idea is to have chats with people who provide very, I suppose, experiential kind of event experiences for somebody coming for an event. So somebody like a cookery school, so Catherine Fulvio, who runs a fabulous cookery school not far from Dublin, would have participated and talked to the participants maybe about what she's doing now, how COVID has affected her, and maybe talk a little bit about what experiences she can offer. There might be somebody else that's involved maybe in running a farm where people can come and visit. So all these kind of immersive experiences, and people are talking about, you know, how things are currently for them, and also using it as kind of a very, very soft sales technique to attract these agents that have all dialed into the call to come and see them in the future, obviously, when we're reopened for business. And I thought it was a great way of connecting with people. It's a very, very soft type of marketing. And I think, as Sam mentioned earlier, a lot of people really just want to chat and the kind of the arm of friendship right now, and to know that there's somebody out there. And I think being able to do something like that, and also showing your side of the world a little bit in a fun way, I just thought it was a great idea, you know, and it seems to be working really well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Karen, for this. This is really, really a wonderful example, and it addresses again so much we need and have this need to really exchange and share in different environments, but simply basically out of your four walls, basically, even if it's the work walls, but really to be able to have this connection. And we really, really hope that that we also give you this space with this as we go along. So thank you, Karen. So is there anyone else who would like to add something and tell another story or additional stories? To look. So what about Giles? because Giles has his daughter, I guess, on the lab. Wouldn't it be nice to hear from Giles?
Why don't you say hello? Say hello. Oh, she doesn't want to talk. Oh, I'm telling you, it's a struggle with two of us on conference calls and a 2-year-old running around the house trying to juggle it. Okay. Okay, in a minute. Sorry, not much help.
All good, all good.
But I was thinking, you know, I was talking to Giles, and how, you know, we have to be everything right now. We're having to kind of be psychologists and educators and mentors and leaders, and you know, we don't always have the answers, and it makes leading quite tough sometimes.
And then I would like to, well, this is now going into a different discussion, but then I would really like to throw out, like, what is a leader in these times, right? So that would be really an interesting discussion maybe for next time, to just really get talking a little bit about that one. So just came up from me right now, and maybe we can build this in one of our future sessions. And actually now coming on this one as well would be maybe just coming this idea right now as we speak about this. So maybe, and I just say to Noah, speaking out loud, like maybe there is that we can say an inbox, things that really, aside of destinations, there are subjects or so that you would really like to be thrown in together and to discuss in one of the next sessions, which are on a working personal nature. So this just came up as we talked about it. So that's why
that was one of the topics we were thinking about: leadership in uncertain times, and how do you lead, and what was, you know, what are some of the aspects. And we've got a couple of excellent speakers who could speak about that. But that was one of the subjects. But we're also looking for other input, because we were thinking of health and wellness. Is that someone, is that an area we'd like to discuss further? Kind of trends, more futurescaping. I think Ed Gillespie could be a fantastic speaker from the team on that, on his work, working with cities and governments on futurescaping. Or what else, so let us know what you would like to touch on, because we're happy to explore and develop things around your ideas.
Right. So anyone who would like to share something else from the last session, because it was now an impromptu, so to say, which came out of this. James, please go ahead.
Well, I met up with Ed from Nantes, amongst others, and I thought the fact that they are funded by the Economic Development Agency was really interesting, and the fact that the word relevance is going to become increasingly important when we queue up for public funding in the future. I like the idea that we are change agents and not just travel agents. I know it's a bit hackneyed these days. But we published on the Iceberg the other day the full presentation by a guy called Greg Clark, Professor Greg Clark. He's an urbanist, and he was talking about the role of business events as a catalyst for driving cities forwards, and how strategically important we are, rather than from a tourism position tactically important. And that I actually think we'll come out of this stronger if we get our messaging right, and we dive a little bit deeper below the waterline to illustrate that we are a catalyst for Nantes, for example, to become an intellectual capital in a certain field of innovation or science or technology or medicine, and that we've actually kind of aligned some of that growth, some of that talent to events that have been attracted or that are on the calendar to come to Nantes, for example, to drive it forward as a medical hub for a particular field of treatment. And I think the more we make ourselves relevant as DMOs, or more importantly, DMMOs, then I think the more we will be successful, not just in government understanding of our industry, but also in driving growth for the cities that are funding the support of those DMOs. So I think, if nothing else, the word relevance of our industry will come into focus. And I really hope that perhaps if we're going to have a session, we go a little bit deeper than just the tourism aspect of it, and perhaps start talking to some scientists and some medics and some science and health department heads, just to understand how we can support their agenda rather than simply how they can support ours.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Very good, James. Absolutely. Absolutely. Turning the thing around, like what can we do to support, no? So to support whatever goals there are, and ideally they are tied into the.
Well, I think, certain destinations, rely very heavily on tourism as a proportion of their GDP. But we have to remember that before this, there was an awful lot of scrutiny of our industry going on in relation to our carbon footprint, the impact that we were having on the environment. And we were a little bit defenseless when it came to, well, actually, you know what we do? We actually cure cancer. Would you like us to stop doing that? So I would like to use this as an opportunity to focus on the government priorities, because the word sustainability, I was having this conversation with Guy yesterday, it couldn't be more appropriate at the moment, because we're actually at the epicenter of the sustainable city or destination. And business events are simply one of the tools that are used to enable that city to be sustainable in the future. And I think we need to get our ducks in a row to make sure that we are a priority to government, because we are the catalyst and the enabler that will enable them to have a sustainable economy, a sustainable social infrastructure, a safe and positive place to work and to live. And let's use this opportunity to work with the organizers of events to get them to be a little bit more clear and a little bit more measurable in what they are actually achieving from their events, other than filling the supply chain of hotels and travel and so on and so forth. Why don't we encourage them to be a lot more mission focused in the measurement of the outcomes that they achieve, that then can be aligned to the governments that are funding, the convention bureaus that are watching, the economic development agencies are watching, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a great opportunity. I think we've all got over the, if you like, the immediate FUD factor of all the fear, the uncertainty and doubt that lies ahead. We know it's fraught with it. But I think we need to be right at the epicenter of the economic recovery that all of these governments are going to be looking for. So let's position ourselves as a change agent and not just a travel agent.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. And I would like to add to that one, because in our group, from another group, there was posted about that the fears like sustainability being left behind, not as a top priority anymore. And the thoughts that I had to that is like, again, sustainability is not an activity or an initiative, something to be putting on the bottom of the list. That's a total wrong approach to it. And it's the perception that still lives in so many places and people and organizations, that it's just a tactical thing to do as an add-on, rather than being integrated intrinsically into the organization, destination, whatever it is, and being the direct model. That's what you're saying.
Claudia, I really urge you, instead of, in the absence of the first half of the next football match you're not allowed to watch, I urge you to spend 40 minutes listening to Greg Clark presenting at AIM in Melbourne this year. It ticks every single box in relation to sustainability, economic development, society. I promise you, it's the most compelling and inspiring roadmap for our industry, both from a sustainability perspective and from a recovery point of view, because this is going to be really tough. Guy and I were on a webinar the other day. This is what we're really facing. This is $9 trillion being wiped off the global economy this year and next year. That's the equivalent of the German and the Japanese economies being wiped out. So anybody that is aligned in any way to public sector funding better make sure that you are right at the top of the list in terms of your ability to deliver a return on the investment, because otherwise it's going to be really difficult for a lot of these DMOs to survive. And
so James, thank you very much, mate. That's great. Thank you for cheering us up at the end of the day. The voice of reality that James always is. If you want to know a lot more about what James says, come and join me for the keynote on Monday at IMEX. I'm on at 10:30 GMT on Monday morning. And so we've got a quite fun, inspiring and dynamic session happening there. You're going to meet a lot of people. It's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in the session. So we'd like to invite you to that. Our next virtual gathering is in 3 weeks on Thursday, the 28th of May. It's going to be a morning one this time. So, so some of you will have to watch it in recording. We're working on the theme. Love some input on that. So please come and supply your ideas as we develop that. And thank you all for your time. Thanks for all your amazing work that you're doing in your communities. And thanks for being part of a great movement. It's been wonderful to be with you again.
Yes, thank you, Guy. And with this, we are coming to an official or close to the session. But whoever would like to move a little bit your body with some cool music, you are invited to do so. In other words, see you next time.